As many of you here know today, opening a pizza restaurant is one of the most difficult things you can do. In my job as a pizza consultant, I've traveled to 19 countries to help open dozens of pizzerias. I found meditation as a great technique to manage stress, and I'd like to share one technique today. It's called gratitude meditation. It's very simple, and you can do it anywhere, anytime. I'll give you a quick example, and if you can follow along, you're welcome to. Start by relaxing your body. Nice soft focus. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Breathe out through your mouth. If you want to repeat after me, you can repeat after me. I am grateful to be attending the International Pizza Expo. I am grateful to not be attending the National Pharmacy Purchasing Association annual conference being held next door.
I knew that was coming.
Tension melted away, smile on your face. It's a good way to get started. But really, think about it for a minute. We're in the happy business. All over the world, people order pizza for parties, on weekends, when people get together to watch sports, birthdays, even weddings. And we get to facilitate that. When someone asks me what I do for a living, and I tell them I am an international pizza consultant, they invariably say, I didn't know that was a job that existed. And that sounds like a dream job. Almost always, that's what they say. On some rare occasions, I've gotten a different reaction. Like when I landed in Gatwick Airport in London in 2017, and the customs officer asked me why I was coming to London. I said, for a pizza party. She gave me a blank stare and said, what? Still excited to share the joy of my job, I said, I'm coming to make pizza for a pizza party. She then took my passport from me and had me escorted to the airport jail. I remained there for the next 8 hours, and at the end of my ordeal, another officer came and interviewed me and confirmed I was only there for a guest appearance and wasn't violating any work visa codes or anything like that, and said, I'm not sure why they detained you, but you're free to go. When I finally made it back to my Airbnb, I had a very good reason to practice a little gratitude meditation. I was very grateful to be free, and I found a new gratitude for my privilege I have to move freely around the world, something not everyone gets. And I was very grateful my job wasn't to be a grumpy immigration officer. And in the end, we did have a great pizza party. While there are stressful times and scary times, some dangerous times, and many times when I've worked myself to the point of exhaustion, sometimes my dream job can really be a dream come true. My most recent pizza consulting trip is a great example of that. Istanbul, Turkey. I'm a big history nerd. History has always been, oh look, there it is. Lovely place. I'm a big history nerd. History has always been one of my biggest passions. And I'm constantly reading history books in my spare time. So to be able to work in one of the most historically significant cities in the world was really a dream come true. And it was also a great example of how you can read about a place, you can watch documentaries, you can listen to podcasts, but you can only truly experience it by being there in person with the people who live there. And while your average person thinks that what makes my job so great is eating pizza every day, honestly, I think at this point, that is the hardest part. It's kind of like a Black Mirror episode to eat pizza for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for weeks on end. But it's the people I get to work with that make it so amazing. Because when you think about it, what's a better way to experience a new city and culture than with restaurant professionals? They know all the best places to eat and drink, and they know how to work hard and play hard. In the case of the owners of Justina Pizza, true restaurant professionals, my clients Emery and Jeffrey, lovers of history, food, culture, and while we worked really hard in the kitchen for almost 2 weeks, I had days off and they took me to the old city to get inspired by the Spice Market and the Grand Bazaar. I got to see for the first time in my life the Hagia Sophia, built about almost 1,500 years ago by the Emperor Justinian when the city was called Constantinople and was the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire. We ate a seafood restaurant overlooking the Bosphorus and the best doner in Istanbul, as well as lahmacun, a flatbread that is kind of a distant relative to pizza. And within the borders of Turkey is the genetic origin of wheat, so we were able to incorporate ancient grains, really ancient grains, into the pizza dough. We used natural fermentation, the way it's been done for thousands of years, and used almost 100% local ingredients in a wood-fired oven with great people. Incorporating those ingredients and techniques from the local cuisine is the crossroads of all my personal passions and interests. That's what makes this a dream job. And yes, part of my job was to eat lots and lots of pizza. One particular pizza stood out. Daphne, my client, loves onions. And she wanted a pizza where onions were the main character. So we started with some local buffalo mozzarella. We tore it up, and some thinly sliced smoked beef entrecote, delicious local traditional product. On top of that, we put some red onions roasted in red wine vinegar, salt, olive oil, a little raw white onion tossed in sumac. I was inspired by the doner that we had for that one. We baked the pizza and finished with baby roasted onions, paprika, and then finally a little drizzle of pomegranate molasses. It was an ingredient I had never heard of until 3 days before. The final product was familiar to the locals and to me.
Wow.
The smoky beef, sweet onions, and pomegranate molasses brought to mind Texas barbecue. And while sumac and paprika added a uniquely Turkish spin to the wood-fired pizza. The head chef Umut gave me what I think is the highest compliment one chef can give to another. He said the flavors reminded him of his grandmother's cooking.
Wow.
I'm really proud of the collaborative work we did there at Justina Pizza. Now, in addition to being an international pizza consultant, I've written a cookbook. It's called Pizza Czar, so I'm an author. Before I ever dreamed of traveling the world and making pizza, I dreamt of becoming an author and an illustrator. And now my words and drawings are in a book, and it's been an incredible journey. In the book, I share recipes and stories from my many years abroad and some of my general philosophies for how to be successful in the pizza industry. I boiled my philosophy down into something I call the 3 principles of success, and I'd like to share that with you now. The first principle is cleanliness. Now, some people enjoy a greasy spoon, dirty diner, but I'm of the mindset that I see something that's gross, I'm probably not going to come back. Running a clean operation is a reflection of organization. An organized mind creates an organized space, which is a clean space. This is not only good for you and the guest, but it makes life easier to have everything in its place and every place to have its thing. One of my jobs is to design organized kitchens and create a good workflow that facilitates a clean and organized operation. For me, it's number 1. The second pillar is consistency, and consistency is rooted in integrity. It's not just about producing consistent food. I think that is of paramount importance. But for success, you have to have consistency in other areas as well, like hours of operation. If you're tired, it's been a long day, slow day, you want to go home. But if your posted hours say you are open until 10 p.m. and someone walks in at 9:50, it takes integrity to welcome them and make the best pizza you can. And food consistency takes integrity too. When you cook a pizza and maybe it was in the oven a little too long or it hit a hot spot in your oven and it's burnt, it takes integrity to do it again. Nobody wants to refire food, but your standards are what you will be judged by. And you have to make it nice or make it twice, as we like to say. If I go to a restaurant and have an amazing meal and then I take my mother there a month later and it's bad, I'm not going to be happy. And if your mother is anything like mine, she's going to call you an idiot for wasting her time. So treat every dish and every guest like they are the most important person in the world, because it's a reflection of your integrity. Now, the last pillar to success is to make delicious food. And for me, this is the easiest one. You get great ingredients, you treat them with respect, season at every level, and balance flavor, texture, and visual presentation. If you can do this in a clean, organized way and do it consistently, you will find success. And you will now be on the true path, which is understanding that it's not really about your guests or your competition, or even really about making money. Because let's be honest, there's a lot easier ways to make money than the restaurant business. The true path is understanding that the only competition you have is yourself. And it's about getting better and learning more every day. If we were only concerned about making money, we might find ourselves next door at the Pharmacy Purchasing Association annual conference. Now, when I say great ingredients, get great ingredients, what do I mean by that? Another part of my job that I love is when I get to learn about and work with food systems and hopefully change them. When I was working in Lisbon with my client Duda and his pizzeria project, Lupita, the first thing we did when I landed from my overnight flight after a delicious lunch of salt, cod, and potatoes was to visit a flour mill we wanted to use for the project. The mill is called Paulo Horta Farinha, and Paulo is the fourth generation to mill flour on this windy hilltop on the outskirts of Lisbon. When we first arrived, we pulled up to find a giant windmill, this one right here, with curious little ceramic gourds attached to the sails. After we parked, Paulo came out to greet us, a very passionate and energetic man who had some freshly baked Portuguese bread in his hands. After eating some of his delicious bread, we began the tour, which started in the windmill. Now, the windmill itself isn't used for production. Behind the mill is a modern, state-of-the-art European stone mill that sources local and regional heritage grains and even has some robotic arms to assist with bagging and stacking the flour. It's a really impressive operation. They are capable of producing 20 tons of flour a day. But they keep the old mill in working operation and working condition, and we went inside to learn how it works. He explained not only the mechanical workings of the mill, but how the mill was central to the community with the interconnected triangle of farmer, miller, and baker. The windmill, as its name implies, operates on wind power. And the top of the mill can rotate 360 degrees so the sail can point in any direction to maximize the wind. Just like the ships that allowed the Portuguese to be the first people to circumnavigate the globe, the sails are adjustable through a series of ropes and pulleys that can increase or decrease the speed of the rotation of the sails, which determines the speed at which the mills, through a series of wooden gears, rotates inside the mill. And the curious little ceramic gourds attached to the sails, Paulo explained that these whistle as the sails rotate in the wind, and the tone of the whistle lets the miller know if they have the mill rotating at the correct speed for whatever grain they need to mill. Inside the top, there was a bunk with a sheepskin blanket. Paulo explained that the wind, when it was right, the miller had to go to work, and sometimes sleep up there in the middle of the night to wait for the right wind and operate the mill. He also explained how the community relied on the mill. The farmer would grow and harvest the grain, they need bread, and they relied on the mill. The farmer would grow and harvest their grain, they need bread to eat, so they take the farmer's grain, who turns it into flour, and gives it to the bakers so they can all